A sitting U.S. senator just walked onto the Senate floor and said what millions of Americans are thinking, but no one in power dares to say out loud. On one side, a president who declared the war with Iran pretty much complete. On the other, his own defense secretary, standing before cameras hours later announcing, "Today will be the most intense day of strikes yet." When reporters pressed Trump on the contradiction, his answer wasn't a clarification. It wasn't a strategy. It was 5 words that should terrify every American. I think it's both. 170 people, including children, were killed at a girls' school. Trump pointed the finger at Iran, claiming their missiles did it. The problem? Iran doesn't have Tomahawk missiles. Not one person in his own administration backed the claim. And while that confusion plays out in real time, the Strait of Hormuz, the artery through which a third of the world's oil flows, is effectively shut down. Gas prices are already up 17% since the war began. This isn't just political chaos. This is what happens when no one in command actually has a command. So what exactly is the plan? And why are American troops in harm's way for a war their own president can't explain? That's what we're breaking down right now.
I recognize the Minority Leader.
Mr. President, Donald Trump's war with Iran grows more confusing and more contradictory by the day. Yesterday, Trump suggested without any explanation that, quote, "I think the war is very complete, pretty much." But this morning, Pete Hegseth stood before the camera and announced that today will be the most intense day of strikes yet. He said that today's activity will, quote, "involve the most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes." Well, which is it? Is the war ending, or are we on the brink of the worst fighting yet? How is it possible that Trump and his cronies can't make it 12 hours without contradicting themselves about this war? It's incredible. Never seen anything like it. A war, serious, putting our soldiers in harm's way, costing billions which should be spent on reducing our costs here overseas, and they don't even have a rationale. They keep contradicting each other and contradicting themselves. Yesterday, President Trump was also asked whether the war is, quote, "very complete," as he said, or is it just at the beginning, as Hegseth says? Well, do you care to guess the president's answer? He said, "I think you could say it's both." He said it's both. He said it's the beginning of building a new country. Those words, by the way, sound a lot like regime change to me, which Trump and others have denied as their goal. Donald Trump is clueless. He has no earthly clue what he is talking about. Something pops into his head, he says it. The next day, something pops into his head that's contradictory, and he says it even though the two things are totally at odds with each other. He doesn't care about the truth. He doesn't care about the soldiers he's put in harm's way. He doesn't care about the billions of dollars we're spending here while people are demanding that he spend them on lowering costs. He can't articulate a plan or a vision because he has no plan or vision. And the statistics show that this is the least popular war at the beginning of any war this country has engaged in. Donald Trump doesn't even seem to know whether or not the country is at war. It's as if he wakes up in the morning and decides right then and there what the plan is going to be. Donald Trump is risking the lives of our troops, the safety of the American people, the stability of the world economy, based on whims, based on feelings, based on contradictions. It's dangerous, it's incompetent. It's sort of like a second grader running this war. Donald Trump's also a liar. He claims that Iranian Tomahawk missiles were responsible for the bombing of an all-girls school that killed 170 people, including many children. Iran doesn't have Tomahawk missiles, Donald Trump. The claim is beyond asinine. Again, he says whatever pops into his head, no matter what the truth is. And we all know he lies, but on something as formidable as this, it's appalling. No other leader in the administration, not even Pete Hegseth, who does whatever Trump wants, is claiming Iranian missiles did this. Trump is lying through his teeth. So, this morning I will be demanding a full, independent, and transparent investigation to get to the bottom of what happened at this school and why so many innocent civilians were tragically killed. There needs to be accountability. Meanwhile, Trump's addiction to chaos is coming back to haunt the United States. The most formidable weapon Iran has right now is the Strait of Hormuz, which today is effectively shut down. And now, thanks to Donald Trump's lack of foresight, Iran has a new, even more radical, even more hostile supreme leader who will not be inclined to give up leverage over the strait. That's the one weapon that Iran has where it can be, unfortunately, be successful. The result? Oil and gas prices are soaring across the world, including here in America. A barrel of Brent crude shot over $100 a barrel yesterday. That got Trump to say his contradictory things to try and bring the price down. It came down a little, but not much. The average price of 1 gallon in the United States is $3.54. That's a 17% increase since the start of the war. Yet Donald Trump says, if it rises, it rises. He says, it doesn't really affect us. What a clueless thing to say. Has Donald Trump ever filled his own tank in his life? Has he any clue of what people go through when the price of gas goes up? Maybe billionaires like him don't have to worry, but for the rest of us, his war with Iran means more inflation in America. And not just in gasoline, but airline tickets will go up because the price of fuel for the airlines. Food prices will go up because of the price of fertilizer. It'll cut across the board, as we've seen before when oil prices go up. Donald Trump is causing chaos in our economy. Finally, Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and Marco Rubio owe the American people some answers. The administration needs to come before Congress and testify in public hearings under oath as to why our troops are fighting and dying in the Middle East. This morning, I'm joining with a group of my colleagues to demand just that they come before Congress and testify in public so they can see what the administration is up to, not up to, and I believe they'll see the mass confusion as they engage in this war. The story from the administration changes by the hour, so what we need are public hearings where the administration testifies under oath. When it comes to sending our service members into harm's way, the American people need to understand why. But right now, they don't even have a why. That needs to change. We need testimony. We're demanding it today. We need accountability. I yield the floor. Note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsop-Brooks.
Let me be direct with you. What we witnessed on the Senate floor today isn't just political bickering. It is a sitting senator standing up and saying, on the record, that the commander-in-chief does not know whether his own country is at war. Think about what that actually means. Yesterday, Trump told the world the war with Iran was pretty much complete. This morning, his defense secretary walked in front of cameras and announced today would be, and I'm quoting directly here, the most intense day of strikes yet. When a reporter asked Trump how both things could possibly be true, he didn't correct himself. He didn't offer a strategy. He smiled and said, I think you could say it's both. Both. That was the answer. From the man with his finger on the trigger. And I want you to sit with something for a moment, because this isn't just about words. Right now, there are American troops in the Middle East, under live fire, in the middle of a war that their own president cannot define. Not won't define, cannot. There is a difference, and it matters enormously. Because when a commander has no clear objective, soldiers don't just lose direction, they lose their lives for no articulable reason. That is not a political statement. That is a military reality. Now let's talk about the school. 170 people killed, including children. at an all-girls school. Trump went on record blaming Iranian Tomahawk missiles. Iran does not have Tomahawk missiles. That is not a matter of debate. It is a documented fact. Not one official in his own administration supported that claim. Not Hegseth. Not Rubio. No one. Which means the President of the United States either invented that detail on the spot, or he heard it from somewhere no credible source can verify and repeated it anyway, about the deaths of children, without checking. Either option should alarm you. Here is what I think is the most underreported piece of this entire story. Iran's most powerful weapon right now isn't a missile. It isn't a drone. It is geography. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway through which roughly 20% of the world's oil supply passes, is effectively shut down today. A barrel of Brent crude crossed $100 yesterday. Gas prices in America are already up 17% since this war began. Airline tickets, food costs, fertilizer prices, all of it moves when oil moves. And Trump's response to all of that? If it rises, it rises. That quote alone tells you everything you need to know about who is making these decisions and who is being protected by them. It isn't you. What Senator Schumer is demanding, public hearings, testimony under oath, isn't a partisan ask. It is the constitutional minimum. Congress has the power to declare war. The American people have the right to know why their sons and daughters are fighting. Right now, the story changes by the hour. And that is not the fog of war. That is the fog of incompetence. Here is the bottom line I want you to walk away with. Democracies don't collapse only when someone seizes power. Sometimes they erode quietly, when accountability disappears, when no one in charge is required to explain themselves, when contradictions go unchallenged, when the cost is paid by the many and the decisions are made by the few. That erosion is happening in real time. And the first